Hello and welcome to News Now on TV360. I am Thelma Okoro. Suspected militants have attacked a pipeline operated by a subsidiary of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) in Warri, Delta State. According to a community leader, the attacks occurred on Sunday night. No group has claimed responsibility for the attack, but suspicion falls on the Niger Delta Avengers, which is a group that has claimed responsibility for most of the attacks in the Niger Delta region. The NNPC is yet to comment on the incident. The Nigerian Army says it has freed 249 suspected Boko Haram members. Those cleared and released include 169 males, 46 women, and 34 children. The Boko Haram insurgency has raged on in Nigeria's northeast region for about 7 years now, killing over 10,000 people. However, in the past few months, the Nigerian military has succeeded in beating back the Islamist sect and significantly reducing the amount of suicide attacks on innocent civilians in the northeast. The Inspector General of Police, IGP Ibrahim Idris, has visited Borno State, northeast Nigeria, to assess the security situation in the state. The police had also evaluated the process of restoring police services in the towns and villages liberated from the Boko Haram insurgents. The IGP donated some relief materials to IDPs at Muna Garage Camp and used the visit to flag off the Police Medical Service outreach headed by AIG Kaomi Amodu. Two judges, Justice Mohammed Yunusa of the Federal High Court in Lagos Division and Justice Olamide Oloyede of the High Court of Justice Osun State, have been sacked. The National Judicial Council terminated the appointment of both men over alleged misconduct. Their sack followed a meeting by the NJC on Saturday, which recommended the compulsory retirement of the two judges to President Muhammadu Buhari. A statement by the NJC explains that Yunusa was precisely sacked for issuing illegal court orders which blocked investigation of financial embezzlement by some public officers. The decision followed a petition by a non-governmental organization identified as the Civil Society Network Against Corruption. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari says he is worried that the judiciary is yet to meet the public's expectation concerning the corruption cases. Speaking in Abuja on Monday, President Buhari appealed to the judiciary to function effectively in the judicial justice system in order to fight corruption and enable the country's growth and development. The president also said in order to improve Nigeria's economy, it is important for all stakeholders, branches of government, the media, the civil society, and the general public to be involved in the fight against corruption. The Movement for the Emancipation of the Niger Delta has released the names of those it expects to dialogue with the Nigerian government. In a letter to President Muhammadu Buhari, the group announced the inclusion of the leader of the Niger Delta Dialogue and Contact Group, Alfred Dietis Piff, as its deputy team leader. It also named former militant leader Government Ekpemopolo, also known as Tompolo. Others include Odein Ajumugboya, who is the team leader, Florence Itagiwa, Ledo Miti, Adolphus Nwabara, Ibanga Isine, Alfred Isename, and Timipia Okponikbere. Men had last week given the federal government 2 weeks to begin dialogue in a bid to quell agitations in the Niger Delta region. Now, Men is a different group from the Niger Delta Avengers. The Avengers have claimed responsibility for recent attacks in Niger's oil-rich region. Attacks on pipelines in the Niger Delta has pushed crude oil production in Nigeria to 30-year lows in recent weeks, although the NNPC says output was rising due to oil pipeline repairs. Lawmakers representing the South and Southeast zones of the country have urged the federal government to review the ownership structure of oil wells in the country. According to lawmakers, the move will help ease development in the Niger Delta region. Rising from the first parliamentary session of the South and Southeast Houses of Assembly in Owerri, Imo State over the weekend, the lawmakers demanded the Niger Delta region should possess at least 65% of the oil wells. This is contrary to the present ownership structure where less than 10% of the oil blocks belong to people from the region. They also noted that the region's development is being hindered by the present payment mode of derivative oil funds. The Academic Staff Union of Universities has disapproved the government's decision to withdraw the rights to conduct post-UTME tests from Nigerian universities. The union's president Biodun Ogunyemi disclosed this at a press conference in Abuja on Monday. Ogunyemi said it was disappointing that such a far-reaching decision was pronounced without consultations with relevant stakeholders in the sector.
The ban on post-UTME and the granting of JAMB exclusive rights to admit students to tertiary institutions, especially universities, are mistakes that will come round to haunt our nation in the not too distant future. Everywhere in the world, university senates are responsible for admissions, and Nigeria cannot be an exemption. The post-UTME has its problems, which we believe can be addressed. To curtail exploitation of parents and candidates, government can improve funding to universities and other tertiary institutions. Total implementation of the 2009 ASU-FGN agreement, especially the funding for revitalization, that is, needs assessment intervention, and other service-related conditions, like payment of staff entitlements, salaries, and allowances, and so on. Registration of NOPENCO will not only increase access, but also ensure industrial harmony and sustainable scheduling in the system. Review of validity period of UTME or its registration fees from 1 to 3 years will reduce exploitation by JAMB and ensure fairness to candidates. ASU shall never accept policies which violate university autonomy. This is a call to all well-meaning Nigerians to intervene to avert a looming crisis in the Nigerian university system.
A Nigerian group known as Women Concerned Group has slammed Senator Dino Melaye for verbally assaulting another senator, Remi Tinubu. The incident, which occurred last week during an executive session of the upper chamber, has drawn the fury of many Nigerians, including the group. Senator Melaye made what has been described as sexist remarks to Senator Tinubu. He had reportedly threatened to beat her up and impregnate her. Marching to the Lagos State House of Assembly, the group protested against Melaye's outburst and called for an apology from the lawmaker.
He has threatened to slap every woman in Lagos State. Threatening to slap her, we are very sad and not pleased at all with this situation. We, the concerned group, categorically state that Dino Melaye action in the executive session is highly commendable, condemnable, disgraceful, disgusting, irritating, shameful, and most embarrassing to the collective circle of not only the women vote, but the entire nation. This is obvious from the avalanche of reaction this disgraceful act has generated. Therefore, call on Senator Dino to tender on research public apology to the other chambers of the Senate, and more importantly, to the person of Senator Remi Tinubu and the entire Nigerians, which he has brought great disrepute.
On behalf of Mr. Speaker, Right Honorable Muda Ishiro Basa, and as you all see, like 20 honorable members are here to receive you. That is the importance that we attach to your protest, and we are saying that this is what should happen in any decent democracy, rather than resorting to self-help. Let me say that we will deliver your message to Mr. Speaker. Let me also tell you that we are not unaware of the verbal diarrhea and vituperation of that irrational rabble-rouser. That we will also treat this letter on the floor of the House.
What the ministry stands for, it does not stand for abuse. The ministry does not stand for uncouth utterances. And that is exactly, we all know it in the papers and the news, that's exactly what Dino Melaye has done. We condemn his action in all its totality. It is condemnable. We say no to it. What do you say to it? No! We say no to women abuse. So I want to thank you very much. I will deliver your message to the governor, for on-one's transmission to the governor.
Acting Inspector General of Police Ibrahim Idris has alleged that Solomon Arase, his predecessor, went away with 24 police vehicles. He said among the cars missing is an armored BMW 7 Series. Speaking with reporters in Abuja on Sunday, Idris said 7 Deputy Inspector Generals of Police who'd retired with Arase also took away between 7 and 8 cars each. Idris disclosed that he had assigned an investigative team to look into the records of police vehicles for the last 3 years. He said the outcome of the investigation setup would determine if a probe was necessary. The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has sued the federal government for failing to release the names of suspected looters and the circumstances under which recovered stolen funds were recovered. The suit filed at the Federal High Court in Ikoyi, Lagos State, followed a Freedom of Information request to the Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, asking him to provide information about the names of high-ranking public officials public funds were recovered from, and the circumstances under which the funds were recovered, as well as the exact amount of funds recovered from each of the public officials. Joined as defendants in the suit are the Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, and the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture. Zenith Bank has denied allegations that it funded the election of Ekiti State Governor Ayodele Fayose or indeed any other election in the country. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) had frozen the accounts of the governor after investigations linked him to the $2.1 billion arms money reportedly diverted by the former Goodluck Jonathan administration. EFCC said it had traced 1.21 billion naira to the governor's account. In a statement issued on Monday, Zenith Bank said its decision to plug the account of Fayose was due to an order from the EFCC. The bank maintained that it could not fund any elections as its policies don't allow for such acts. We'll take a short break. When we'll come back, we'll look at business and international stories. Don't go away.
How work?
How correct, Oga?
What is it that you are doing?
Oga, they command the part now. Make we go sell for.
Oga, na correct kuza be this so. Oga Titus and him boys them. They do am. They will command the original parts, sell them, make plenty kuza. No wonder our customers bring the generator back to our workshop because they bad. And not because of stuff. Now because they overuse the generator. Plus say NEPA no they give them electricity. Before I open my eye, Makachuku look at my talk in the heaven. Replace this original generator parts back inside this generator of my customer. In short, before una do am, front jump. One, front jump. 1, 2, 1. Stealing of generator parts or changing of original parts to a fake one. That is the corruption. Not in my country. Corruption not in my country.
Welcome back. Annual inflation in Nigeria accelerated to 16.5% in June this year. This is according to new data. This will be the highest in almost a decade and the 5th monthly increase in a row as the crisis in Africa's biggest economy continues to deepen. Nigeria has seen revenues plunge with oil prices, with pressure on the Naira currency helping to fuel inflation. The Naira hit 295 in thin trade a month after the CBN caved into months of pressure to remove its currency peg rate and effectively devalued the unit in response to falling oil prices. The National Bureau of Statistics said the rise reflected higher prices for electricity, transport and food, which is a separate index for which rose to 15.3% from 14.9% in May this year. The Nigerian Institute of Chartered Arbitrators have called on businessmen in the country to seek alternative ways of resolving disputes. The vice president of the body, Professor Fabian Ajogu, says this will help reduce the time and cost involved in settling cases at the court of law. He was speaking at the annual conference of the Nigerian Institute of Chartered Arbitrators in Lagos State, Southwest Nigeria. He said the involvement of arbitrators and mediators help in restoring and strengthening lost confidence among the aggrieved parties in trade disputes.
ADR, Alternative Dispute Resolution, has become the way to go because trade and commerce is something that grows, expands. Yet we have fixed number of judges and courts to decide this, so it's become overwhelming, and people then prefer to resolve their disputes privately, and that's what we're facilitating.
The arbitration institute that we have in this country and is all over the world is something we need to embrace, because if you have a dispute and you resolve it through arbitration, you have already set out a way by which after the resolution you can be friends. And that's very important in business, because if you do not do business with your friends, who will you do business with?
Nigeria is a global player when it comes to international trade, and it is one of the fastest way of resolving disputes internationally all over the world. Nigeria also is a party to ensuring that arbitration is just no longer what is done outside the shores of Nigeria, but even in Nigeria we can also settle disputes amicably using the arbitration process.
Still on business, oil prices were virtually unchanged on Monday following gains last week. Traders shrugged off the impact of last week's attempted coup in Turkey. Brent crude futures rose 2 cents to $47.63 per barrel, while U.S. crude futures eased by 4 cents to $45.91 per barrel. Crude prices have almost doubled since touching their lowest in early 2016. Voting for the chairperson of the African Union Commission has been postponed till January next year. This comes after Monday's election failed to produce a two-thirds majority for any of the 3 candidates that were up for nomination. Reports say at least 15 heads of states abstained from voting when the first round of votes were cast. During the second round, only 20 heads of state voted in that round. ECOWAS has previously expressed concern during the summit that none of the 3 candidates up for nomination were suitable for the job and pushed for the elections to be postponed. Turkish officials say that nearly 8,000 police officers have been suspended reportedly on suspicion of having links to the failed coup attempt over the weekend. Some 6,000 members of the judiciary and military, including generals, have also been detained in connection with the coup. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan vowed to purge state bodies of the virus that caused the revolt. More than 150 people died following the failed coup attempt. Moving on to sports stories now, the Technical and Development Committee of the Nigeria Football Federation will meet in Abuja on Monday next week to interview 3 people shortlisted to become coach of the Super Eagles. The name of the successful candidate will then be forwarded to the NFF board. Nigerian Salisu Yusuf, who is 54 years old, as well as Belgian Tom Saintfet, 43, and Frenchman Paul Le Guen, who is 52 years old, are the candidates in the running to become Super Eagles coach. The Eagles have been without a permanent coach since February this year following the resignation of Sunday Olise. Meanwhile, NFF President Amaju Pinnick has assured that the NFF had secured a sponsorship deal to pay the salary of the incoming Super Eagles boss. The football body had last week denied it had reached an agreement with the NNPC on the Eagles coach sponsorship, but Pinnick says a deal has been agreed with an unnamed company.
I believe the first thing that we've done was to ensure that we got a partner that we pay the fees of all the coaches, not just whoever is selected, all the coaches. We sent a request for about 5 coaches, and that request was granted, but the company feels very strongly that we should keep everything private, and that at the appropriate time the company through their own media will come out to tell the world what they are doing for Nigeria football, you know. So we're very excited about it. I wanted to get that behind it, because right from when we were ousted from the last AFCON, we started work already. You know, whatever we are doing now, we are trying to avoid all kinds of mistakes. For example, we are not paying, we are paying. Well, we're also making effort in trying to pay all the coaches that we are owing once we receive funds from one of our sponsors who has shown sign that they want to meet some of their obligations.
The NFF chairman also rejected claims of disharmony within the NFF board.
This is a board that has come, this one executive committee that you can see unity. Whether you like it or not, you can see unity. I've been following the NFF for over 30 years. But this one NFF, you see total unity with A to Z of members of the executive committee. So I'm not saying what they are doing, they are united behind me. And because they know that by God's grace, I'm not leading them badly. So, but I want to crave your indulgence. It is very key that I crave your indulgence for you people to know that you guys have a major role to play in stability of football in this country.
Brazilian football legend Pelé is expected in Nigeria for a historic visit in August this year. The three-time World Cup winner will headline a youth football tournament which will take place at the AstroTurf in Ikoyi, Lagos, as well as a leadership meeting with Corporate Nigeria. This will be Pelé's second visit to Nigeria. The first in 1967 was prompted by a two-day ceasefire during the Nigerian Civil War, which allowed the warring sides to watch the Pelé and Santos FC football team play an exhibition match in Lagos State. Russia is facing the prospect of a complete ban from the Olympics game after a new WADA report accused the country of widespread state-sponsored doping at the Sochi 2014 Olympic Games. The country is currently banned from competing at the Rio Olympics after the IAAF last month upheld a ban on the All-Russian Athletics Federation. The decision disqualifies Russian athletes from competing at the Olympic Games. Now the country faces further punishment after a new WADA report accused Russian officials of protecting athletes during the 2014 Winter Games. Well, that's all we have on news now. Thank you very much for watching. I am Thelma Okuru.